The Lawman Lynch Show on BFS TV New York. We are entertaining. We are educational. We are engaging. Every Thursday at 9:30 a.m. and a repeat at 5:30 p.m. Time Warner Spectrum Channel 34, Optimum Channel 67, RCN Channel 82, and Verizon Fios Channel 42. Watch anywhere around the world at brickartsmedia.org/1. It is a privilege for me to be having a conversation this afternoon, with none other than the one and only Keisha Martin, the queen of Jamrock Soul. Keisha, how are you?
I'm wonderful. It's an honor to finally have this sit down with you.
Oh my gosh!
After so many years.
Well, it is my honor to have you on today's show. For those who don't know Keisha Martin, I don't want to say who is Keisha. I don't want to ask who is Keisha. But where are you from originally?
I'm born in Jamaica, Kingston Jubilee Hospital. People say
Jubilee,
them born at Kingston.
Jubilee,
but right? A lot of people don't know the kind of schematics between Jubilee and born in Kingston Public.
Yeah.
It's like, you're born at one, you're a country person, and you're born at the other, you're a born Kingstonian. So I'm a born Kingstonian, because I'm born at
And then you migrated to the US?
The US in 1986. My mom and 6 children. My brother came later at the later part of the year, but migrated in 86. I was here in the blizzard of 1986. First time I see winter.
Yeah.
It was interesting. Interesting. I never liked winter after that.
So you did most of your school in here?
Yes. I did elementary, junior high, and high school.
Okay.
Some college here as well.
What was it like growing up in New York?
Wow. So the era that I came to the States in was basically the era where it wasn't cool to be Jamaican. Everybody's embracing it, but I grew up in a time when it wasn't cool to be Jamaican.
Really?
And growing up was very rough because you had a very heavy accent as a child, and you're in elementary school, and kids here were very mean. We were bullied every single day. We had to fight our way to get home every day without being harmed.
Right.
And it was, even though we lived literally a block away from the school, I went to Weeksville, PS243.
Okay, not far from here.
Yeah, so right up the street, right. When I migrated here, I actually lived right across the street from the 77th precinct. So I lived on Bergen between Utica and Schenectady. That was the block that we came to house and backyard and all this.
Right.
Yes, yeah. So growing up was kind of rough, but nonetheless, it's a lengthy story. So it was just opportunity when we first came here, and I saw it as a reset because being in Jamaica was even rougher. Right. My mom not being there for 3 years, back and forth.
Oh, so your mom came here first?
First, my grandmother brought my mom here first, and then she came, then structured. She got married within that 3-year period. My stepdad married my mom with 6 kids, none of them being his. But I love my stepdad. He's awesome. So shout outs to Errol, aka Chippy, as we lovingly know him. And it was a good experience to come, into a family life because we live off one Bilica Road to New York City, and it was just a different environment, living in a tenement yard at Jamaica, and there's so many different people, still family orientated because everyone knew everybody and that's how we're raised, but here was just more all of the children being together
in one household,
and there was a dad. My dad is a great man, was a great man, God rest his soul, but we didn't have communication. My mom, when we came here, was just I don't have any memories. So I kind of live vicariously through I wouldn't call her half-sister, she's my sister. Through my sister, whose mom is different from mine. And she used to tell me stories because she grew up with my dad. And it was just really crazy because for me, her memories when she shares them with me, it's I was there, so I kind of live through her with them. But the life liberty here was no different. I would say that. I think my home life was one of those things where it's like a movie, and
Right.
the book is coming.
The book is coming out.
It's coming, and like I said, it's done a lot for me in terms of my strength, where I've been, what I've been through. Even before I reached here, as a young child, there was many things that happened, and just shaped my evolution as an artist, as a mom, as just a woman. And so I'm grateful for the experience, bad and good, because again, I feel like if I never went through what I went through, I don't know who I would be today. So.
You mentioned the two hats that you wear. You talk about being a mom.
I am.
And you talk
Proud
about
mom.
being an artist. Before we get into you being an artist, because that's really what drew me to you, you know, the artistic side of Keisha Martin. Tell me about your family, your children.
Offsprings.
Yeah.
So I have a son and I have a daughter. I have my son actually legally changed his name. So his name he changed his name to Apollo Flower Child.
Apollo Flower
Which
Child.
I think is so befitting. People kind of had like mixed feelings about it, but I didn't. I've always embraced and encouraged my children in just evolving into who they are and embracing themselves. So he just was like, when he was doing in the process, he was like, I said you can do it when you become 18.
Right.
I didn't have a problem with it. I just was like, when you become 18. So he's been searching for names until he became the age of 18, and he legally went and changed his name
to Apollo
Flower Child. So he was born Devin Antonio Martin. So now he's Apollo Antonio Flower Child. And it's kind of artistically befitting because, Apollo is the god of sun and whatever. And that's the reason why he picked it, because it kind of fitted how he is as a personality. And that's how, I helped him choose the name because, he came up with all these different things. And I was like, oh, I like that one. And I didn't, he asked my opinion. And I was a part of the process. So I'm grateful for that. But nonetheless, it's his decision and I'm happy with it. He is an artist. He was into art when he was younger, and then when he went away to college and came back, he still was into art. He started painting instead of being in game design. And then like 3 years ago, he said, Mom, I want to learn that. I'm going to learn how to play the guitar. He's one of those kids, like, if he wants to do something, he picks up he does it.
Right.
My daughter is like different. It's like she's always been my handbag. She's always been that person that you see me, you see her.
And she sings too.
Yes, she's in my band. So she's my background, one of my background vocalists in my band. And like she's just always been, I always ask her like, why don't you? Because like her voice at her age has been so different. Like when I was her age, I didn't even sound half as good as she does. This is who I am today, and how I sound today is like evolution for me. But she has this raw, natural talent, but she doesn't have an interest in being in the music business by herself. And I'm okay with that, like no pressure as far. But they're amazing kids, and I'm grateful. I could not have asked for better children. I can definitely say that, and I'm proud of them.
When did you recognize that music was what you really, or is what you really want to do?
Wow. So, it took me years to kind of pinpoint that, but I can say in the moment that I really realized that this is what I was meant to do, because it's not a want. And I think people kind of don't understand the difference between people who love this thing and people who desire to do it.
Right.
I love it, and so in my head and in my heart, I feel like I'm meant to do music, to reach people on a deeper level. So the moment I realized that this is what I'm meant to do, so I remember 2003, they had an audition for Showtime at the Apollo, which is like the non-televised version of the Apollo, which is the Wednesday nights. And I went to audition and I made it. And you go for the day of the show and you rehearse with the band. I had tracks, so I didn't use the band. And you get to see all your competition. So I saw these amazing people. They sound so amazing. I'm like, you know, but I wasn't threatened because I'm in my own head about why I'm there.
Right.
I used to watch Apollo on TV every morning at 2 o'clock when it
Right.
came on Channel 4. I'm like, I'm gonna do that one
Right,
day.
right,
And
right.
this was that moment for me where me executing something I wanted to do.
That you definitely want to do.
So I went and the night came and the place was packed and there was so many great talents in the house, and you're downstairs and you're waiting to be called, and I'm just like, I'm nervous because this is a huge audience, and I'm hearing people who I thought was amazing getting booed. So then I become very weary. So then when I stepped out at the time, Lex Perry was my designer. He's the one that was styling me. So he had me in one of his Lex Perry design specials, and when I walked out, so when you walk out on the Apollo stage, you cannot see the audience.
Right.
You're blinded by this flood of lights. You can't see
Right.
who's there and who's not. You just hear people's
Right.
breathing
Right.
and their.
Right.
So when I walked out, I heard this, you know, like a gasp,
Right.
like, you know. So I'm like, okay. So then I was a Whitney Houston song that I sing, I Believe in You and Me. And when I started singing, I executed, I made it off the stage safe, they loved it. But then it came down to the voting, and it was like 4, I think, people made it. There was a marching band who had an audience, like literally they came with 2 busload of people sitting in front of the audience.
They had an entourage.
Yes. And it was first, second, third, and fourth place. I don't take anything away from what happened because, so the voting is coming down. There's like 6, like whoever the amount of acts that was, you know, chosen, made it. And we're there, and it's like, you know, they pick the first place because it's first, second, and third, and fourth place winners. I didn't know that even at the time. So then I ended up not being second. I ended up not being third, and then it boiled down to me and somebody else. And the audience kind of was like, they were already irate because I'm like, look like me now go get no placement. I needed to win or whatever they thought.
Right.
I think I had 2 people who came with me and they were like way up in the mezzanine. Right. You couldn't even hear them. In that moment, an audience full of people who didn't know who I was, all I heard was, it was just, I swear, I wish I knew how to get this tape. All you heard was, Keisha, this is people that did not know who I was, and this was 2003. Who's Keisha Martin back then?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And in that moment, I'm like, in my head, I'm like, I know, God, this is your plan for me. This is what you want me to do.
Right.
And I'm singing somebody else's song. I'm not really writing like I am now or anything like that. And so I took that and just ran with it, because in that moment I felt like, all right, music is what I'm meant to do. And no matter what kind of job, I've worked for law firms, I've worked for different facilities, I've been a debt collector, I've done so many different jobs, but in everything that I've done, music has always played a part. I did that also just for my children to understand that no matter what it is that you're doing to financially, you know, pay the bills, what you're passionate about is important.
Right.
Because I knew I never wanted to continue working for people for the rest of my life. Hence, I'm a business owner. And we'll talk about that later. So, you know, even, you know, you're juggling and you're struggling, but you know that this is something worth holding on to. This is worth something fighting for. And I kept doing it. And, you know, a little bit of notoriety has happened, and it's good to see you reaping the benefits that people are calling you and them now say, well, you know, Keisha Martin, why you do a free show? I mean, I try to get exposure. And when I get those calls, I happily decline, you know, because when I send you my bio and my information, my press kit, if you're trying to book me, you've seen my history.
You've done the work.
I've done the work. I've put in the work. And I'm still putting in the work. Because, you know, it's not an overnight thing, and no one is successful overnight. And I want to be in this thing where 20 years from now, my music is resonating everywhere. People are still enjoying it. And so that's the goal, you know, to be able to continue to give people good music and make them feel good about themselves and inspire them.
Right. There was a point where you mentioned while you were at the Apollo, and you only had probably two.
Yeah, at the time, the producers that I was working with.
And everybody else came with a lot of people, you know,
the crowd. Big gangs.
And then you heard Keisha. And you're like, who is Keisha? I think, you know, in life, we sometimes don't dictate,
We don't.
what our calling is.
We
We're
absolutely
given
don't.
we're given talents, we're given gifts, and our mandate is to just come and deliver.
Absolutely.
And right now you're doing that.
I'm on the road to
You're
delivery.
doing that.
That's why this new project is super important. Like moving forward, getting the music out to the people. I've worked with quite a few people, in my journey as far as musicians and producers. I have I have to say, like Andre Lloyd, my current producer and producer for many years.
Yeah.
He is one of those people that makes me understand that the journey is not my own. It
Right.
is something that is intended. It was already ordained. The path has been, because there's a love. That's the thing. I don't want to connect with people that are not passionate about this
Right.
thing. And that's how I work. If somebody call me tomorrow and say, I'm giving you $1 million to work on this project. If it has content that does not fit my brand, I will definitely decline.
And I recognize that your work, there's a lot of soul in it. Yesterday, for example, you posted a video on Facebook, on social media. It was on your Instagram as
Yeah.
well, and her Instagram handle is below. You can follow her on Instagram. And my only comment could have been soul. And that's what I commented, because you could hear it in your voice, and not a lot of singers, or entertainers bring that to the table. They're just there to entertain, but they have no soul. So I believe when you heard Keisha
It ignited
at
something.
the
in me.
Apollo, that
It
it's all about
ignited
soul,
something
yeah.
in me, man. It made me feel like this. And I've had so much opposition and I've heard so many negative things about myself, but I laugh because if people are not talking about you, you're not on the path you're
You know what my mother told me when I was growing up? Leon, she calls me by my middle name. If everybody likes you, something is wrong with you.
Absolutely.
Something is wrong.
Absolutely.
And the very first time, and Music for Life is coming up, and when I started to do the running order for it, the only sound that kept playing in my mind was a song. First of all, you're the first person I heard, first female artist I heard live on a stage when I moved to the US. So it was back in 2010.
Yeah, that's
And you performed I Hope You Dance. And it is, I know you have done a lot of recordings after that, but there's something about that song when you sing it that still gives me chills.
Do you know the history behind why I ended up doing that song? So I have a promoter in Florida that was introduced to me by Kaini, the artist, and her name is Stacey Williams, and we're now very good friends. But back then, when the song came about, she's the one who introduced it. It's a song her and her daughter love listening to by Lawman.
Right.
And she called me up and she said, I want a reggae kind of rendition of this song for my daughter, sweet 16.
Okay.
She has a huge family, and I mean, everybody I drive down for the Sweet 16. I was supposed to fly out, but I couldn't because at the time I was working. And I said, all right, I got you, because they're like another family, So I said, I called up Derek Barnett.
Derek, okay.
And I called up, he played bass on that. I called up Derek. First of all, I called Andre Lloyd, because that's my go-to for everything, my producer. And I said, listen, we gotta, Stacey want this song, and, we need a little reggae vibe in it too, but we're gonna do it Keisha Martin's way. And we did. Andy Basford and Derek Barnett came in and played live bass, and Andy played guitar on it. And Andre produced it, and she loved it. And funny enough, she had it on a ringtone, and she walked into a bank one day, and she was like, a woman turned to her and said, oh my God, I just used this song for my wedding, and if I had heard this, I definitely would have saw it. So it was just like really weird, like in Florida somewhere, after the song was like given to her. And to this day, there's a woman named Sharon Burke. She has cancer, and she lives in Texas. This is her song when she's going through her chemo, and she's going through, and she always tells me that. And I've heard so many people like talk about the song. And it's one of those songs that I love it because I sang it at, someone made a request. They hired me the other day for their 30th birthday party, and me and Andy again, but it was an acoustic, and it was so beautiful because that was the song she wanted,
right?
You know, and I was like, okay, no problem. And it was like a really, it's been that song that's just stayed with people,
right?
So I equally love the song as well.
Give thanks. You don't know, I'm just a wish nothing but good things from a friend them in another place. And if you know the song, you can sing it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. Ooh. Sydney Mills, Sister Carol, this one is for you. I hope you never lose your sense of wonder. See you get your fill to eat, but always keep that hunger. May you never one single breath for granted, and not forget love ever leaves you empty-handed. I hope you still feel small when you standing by the ocean. Whenever one door closes, I hope one more opens. And promise me that you'll give faith and change. And when you get the choice to sit it out a day, I hope you date. See me and Sister Cara, I hope you date. Yeah, yeah. I hope you never think those mountains in the distance, and never settle for the path of least resistance. Living might mean taking chances, but they were taken. Loving might be a mistake, but it's worth making. So don't let some helping heart leave you bitter. When you come close to selling out, reconsider. Give the heavens above more than just flying chains. And when you get the choice to sit it out on a day, time is a real and constant motion, always moving us on. So tell me who wants to look back on you and wonder where those years have gone. I hope you still feel small when you standing by the ocean. Whenever one door closes, I hope one more opens. And promise me that you'll give find it change. And when you get the chance to sit it out on a I hope you see me, I hope you dance. Sister Karen, I hope you dance. Just continue to dance. Just dance. I hope you dance. I hope you dance to the games. I hope you dance. Yeah. I hope you dance.
Who would you say are some of your musical influences?
Oh, so many. I would say first at the top of my list is Nina Simone.
Nina Simone.
Top of my list. Nina, Patti LaBelle, Diana Ross.
Okay, I see where the soul comes. I see where the soul comes from.
But I have my go-to Marcia Griffiths.
Right.
Reggae wise, of course Bob Marley. There's so many, Michael Jackson. I have like so many different. It's like an eclectic mix of variety of people. because growing up you heard everything. When I
Right.
came here to the States, music was something that was so consistent because couldn't go nowhere because we were on lockdown in the household, so we really couldn't get anywhere. My mom threw parties frequently in the house. She had like a stack of vinyls in the house.
Right.
And so we entertained ourselves. Even growing up, music, when I came here, music was that thing that, you know, kind of was the outlet for us. So in the house, me and my siblings, we used to like kind of like push pillows in our clothes and like entertain each other. But then when the musical component, when the record players went on, we used to put our rhythm in the living
Right.
room, and you know, a DJ. My brother, who also passed away, well, he was murdered in Jamaica.
Wow, condolences.
Yeah, it's crazy how that happened. Like, there's been so much traumatic experiences. With 8 years ago, my dad and my brother died within like 3 months of each other.
Wow.
So my dad, I went to bury my dad. He died of natural causes the October. I saw my brother at his funeral, and then came back, and then the January we got a phone call that he was murdered. Yeah. So, but he was like a real catalyst. Like, we were very close. And so when you see the number 13 associated with me, like, I named my business after him as a way of just, you know, keeping his nickname. Growing up, we called him 13.
Okay.
So hence my business name for my catering business is 13 Spice Caterers.
Right.
Yeah. So, and then I'm working on a whole entertainment conglomerate to provide like entertainment for weddings and different, you know.
As you talk about all of these things, you know, your life experiences, you know, getting into business, the music, and all of that. What has it like being a female in such a male-dominated industry? Not only as the talent, you know, in front of the mic, you know, but
behind the scenes as well.
Yeah.
So I can tell you, it's been really rough. It's been rough because we are not recognized or given the just due for what we represent in this business as women. And I understand the reasoning for it, because you have a group of people who don't have a passion for it,
Right.
but has a talent, and they say, all right, the idea of getting into the business is just either laying on their back or doing things that is immoral. And so that's not what it's about. And we have to, people like me, at the end of the day, I'm going to stand firm in what I believe in, that this is a God-given talent, and no matter what and who try to say what and do what, this is going to evolve into how God intended for it.
This was part 1 of a 2-part episode with the lovely Keisha Martin. Remember to join us again right here at the same place for part 2 with Keisha Martin. The Lawman Lynch Show on BFS TV New York. We are entertaining. We are educational. We are engaging. Every Thursday at 9:30 a.m. and a repeat at 5:30 p.m. Time Warner Spectrum Channel 34, Optimum Channel 67, RCN Channel 82, and Verizon Fios Channel 42. Watch anywhere around the world at brickartsmedia.org/1.